Dear brothers and sisters, in life, there are few elements which, when put together, can create many, many different forms. We look at creation itself and look at what has been created with matter. All kinds of buildings, all kinds of mountains are there, all kinds of oceans are there, everything coming through matter. Small elements of matter, it's electrons, protons, and neutrons, and they also have smaller elements in them. And then atoms are made, and then molecules are made, and then all kinds of matter starts to be made. And similarly, when we look in the field of music, we have a few notes in the musical field, and look at with those notes how much music is created. Not only classical, but all kinds of, whether it be jazz, rock and roll, hip-hop, or whatever new fields are there. And it's not only one language, it's like music is created in practically all the languages of the world. And the same thing happens with the words. From the alphabets come the words, from the words come sentences, from that come little paragraphs. It could be running into a short story or an article, or a book, or a movie, or all the conversation that we have so we can, have our feelings, we go out to someone else. It's all created from little elements. Same thing happens with colors. When I was very young and when I was going to school, I was shown an experiment when light hits the prism, and all the colors that break up, the white light breaks up into all these various colors. And to remember them, we were given a word called Vibgyor. Violet, indigo, blue, green, Vibgyor. Yellow, orange, red. Okay? And I think in America they went the other way. They said Roy B something, or something like that. And so we went this way and they went that way. But the purpose was to remember the colors and look at how those 7 colors from the sunlight create so many paintings in this world, so many drawings, and so much of art has been created with just those few elements. And as we start to think about why am I talking about all this stuff? We're all here to gain spiritually, right? We're not to learn Vibgyor and all that stuff. We learned it enough when we were younger. When we look back at the spiritual world, there have been saints after saints after saints coming in all kinds of traditions. Saintly people, saintly persons, whether they were males or females, who talked about spirituality, who, through their own examples, were trying to explain to others the spiritual way and the path by which we can connect ourselves with God. And so there have been saints in all traditions, and much of the ratings of the saints is in prose. And that's what our scriptures are. Our scriptures are sayings that came from the saints, the words that came from the saints, which were then collected by their disciples and put into a form which could go to many, many other people. It's a very interesting also to note that our spiritual books are pretty big. There's a lot of information in them. And the spiritual books of all faith are pretty thick with all kinds of pages, all kinds of good information so that we can get to our goals. And then there have been saints who were also poets. And these were the saints whose writings are very, very small. So like in 2 lines, they've given the import of what the spiritual path is, what should life be like that. And so when we read their writings in a small amount of words, and they put in so much information about the spiritual path that one is able to gain the information in a very concise, very simple, straightforward. So there have been saints who've been poets also. And in their poetry, there's a depth of information. And when we go and read their poetry, we find that each of their verses has so much depth that the spiritual path, what we should be doing in life, opens up very loud and clear for us. So I'd like to take a verse written by Sant Rajinder Singh Ji Maharaj. He's written many, many, many verses which talk about the inner journey, which explain through words whatever you can explain, because the spiritual path is very difficult to put down in words. But these poet saints have taken the words of the languages that they were familiar with at that time, and they've put into words so that there's a pathway for us, for future generations to come, so that we also know that we can reach our goal, that we are not left here without any footprints. Yeah. So I'd like to take a verse of Sant Rajinder Singh Ji Maharaj, which I think explains life as it is and should be. And it's a very, very interesting verse that we've never talked about before. I'm always trying to find new things that are there so that we all understand the depths of what these great saints have left for us. So here Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj saying, he says, "Sher wo sher jo awaaz ho khamoshi ki." Sher is like a verse. शेर वो शेर जो आवाज़ हो खामोशी की, बेज़ुबां बन के जो पैगाम नज़र हो जाए, बेज़ुबां बन के जो पैगाम नज़र हो जाए. So if we were to translate that into English, a translation would be, a verse is truly a verse that gives voice to silence. It's very interesting when you look at these words. A verse is truly a verse that gives voice to silence. Without words, your message is conveyed through your glances. So what is Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj talking about? How do you give voice to silence? We all feel that silence is when there's no activity, that everything is stopped, okay? And so if you would try to understand the verse, it might be difficult to say, how can you give voice to silence? Because silence is supposed to be quietening everything. In your home, the kids are making a racket, you say, be quiet, be silent, you go to meditate someplace, there's a sign there, be silent, everyone be silent. So no one's talking and no one's disturbing everyone, okay? So how do you give voice to silence? And what is he talking about? He's saying that a verse which is worth writing is one that gives voice to silence. See, all other verses are useless. That if you write something, write about silence, give it some more exposure. And so when you start to dig deep into what is he really trying to tell us, it's very interesting. We all, as we go on the spiritual path, we realize that for us to realize ourselves, we need to be silent. We need to be quiet. We need to quieten the body. This is why they say, when you sit down to meditate, don't move, and make sure no part of your body is touching someone else. So if they move, you get distracted. make sure the area is quiet so there's no noise or sounds coming in to distract you. Everything that you do before you meditate is to be silent. Quieten the body and then quieten the mind. Because as soon as you quieten the body, the mind is going, hey, what happened? It's too quiet. I don't like this stuff. It's a very easy mechanism. It sends you a thought. Thought could be about anything. As soon as you get a thought, you get engrossed in thought, there's activity going on. Silence is broken. Okay, that's what the mind wants. Okay, and so Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj is saying, I was trying to explain to us that the key to life and for us to be connected with this divine power, light and sound of God, we need to be in silence. We need to quieten ourselves. We need the environment to be quietened, but we need to quieten the body and quieten the mind. Okay? And so, unless we quieten the body and quieten the mind, we are not going to be able to hear the voice of the Lord. We're not going to be able to connect with the divine light and sound of God, which is called the Shabd. And so, for us to be able to connect with that divine power, which is reverberating within each and every one of us, we need to be in the state of quietness. Okay? And through here, Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj is saying, the whole creation came from quietness. Okay? And God willed to be many from one. God was there before this creation. God is the one who created everything out of a few elements. And God is the one who through the vibration, the light and sound of God, brought everything that is there. And for us to be able to meet God, we need to get to that state of silence. We need to get to that state of being quiet. And so Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj is saying, anything else that we talk about besides being silent is all superfluous. It's about other activities. This is the reality, is the silence, and this silence then created this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing. And now we sit here and we talk about, oh, look at the sunset and the sun rises, how beautiful it is, okay? And we all talk about the beauty of the mountains, and we talk about the waves in the ocean, we talk about all this greenery and every beautiful thing. What for? We need to talk about this which created all this stuff. And what is that? That is silence. That is God. We're all a part of God. We need to reach that. So this is why Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj, don't talk about the sunsets and the sunrises, don't talk about all these beautiful paintings, don't talk about all this stuff. This is all on the outside, the peripheral stuff. Get to the heart of what you want to do. And the heart of what we want to do is to be silent. Is to be quiet, is to quieten the body and quieten the mind. We've got too much commotion going on around us. Yeah? And what is very interesting is that unless we get to that state where we can experience that silence, words cannot totally give us that feeling. They don't give us that experience. Let's take the example of love. And many people say, I love you. Okay? I love is very common. You're walking around nowadays, they say, I love you, I love you, I love you. But so what are we trying to convey with the three words? A feeling that we have inside of someone, that we care about someone, we, love them. I don't know what other words to use. In the Indian language, those are the words only. And it's the feeling that we are conveying. It's not the words, I love you, which matter. It's the feeling, and you're trying to convey that. But are you really able to put that and convey it through the words? Generally not. Because the words are there for us to just understand the outside things. What is truly happening in the inside? Is your heart like fluttering when you see someone that you care about? You might say, I love you to them. You might say, I love you to someone else that you walk on the streets for some other reason too. You know? So what are you really conveying when you say the three words? It's that conveyance of whatever you're feeling is what is really happening with you, because that's the experience you have. And you have no mechanism to bring that experience to someone else, so use words to convey it. Okay? So Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj is saying, okay, if we want to talk about something, want to write about something, let's give voice to silence. Let's talk about silence. Let's talk about um, God. Let's talk about the Creator. Let's talk about how are we going to reach that stage. Let's talk about, why are we here to get off the wheel of transmigration. How do we get off the wheel of transmigration? Not by learning more about this world, not by being more knowledgeable about this world, not by having this information come in, this information come in, that come in, that come in, that come in. It's when we get rid of all of that stuff. When we get to a state where there's no distraction, nothing pulling us away in this direction. When nothing else on the outside is pulling us, then only we'll be able to go inside. Then only we'll be able to hear the celestial music within. Because the celestial music is being played continuously, 24 hours a day, within each and every one of us. It's we who are unable to connect with it. It's not that it's not there. It's we whose attention is on activities on the world outside, and so we are unable to connect with the source of all joy, of all peace, of all love, and of all bliss. It's all there, it's within each and every one of us. And it's not only the domain of the saints and the mystics to know God, each and every one of us has a birthright to know God. It's a question of how much silence can we achieve as we're living our lives. And Sant Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj is saying, if you want to talk about anything, talk about silence. Talk about God, think about God, focus on God. Because wherever we focus our attention, that's what we become. Okay? This life has been given to us to know God, to be with God, to be one with God. And so to fulfill that purpose, we need to focus our attention on God more and more and more. And so whatever helps to focus our attention on God is good. Okay? But the key is that our attention needs to get focused on God. And that will happen if we experience God. And for us to experience God, we need to be in silence. Silence all around us physically, silencing the body by not moving, not being able to be distracted, silencing the mind by getting to a state where the mind is unable to send thoughts to us, so that we can connect with the divine power, light and sound of God. And then in the next line, he says, "Bezabaan ban ke jo paigam-e nazar ho jaye," which would translate as, without words, your message is conveyed through your glances. Sant Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj would often say that 2/3 of spirituality comes through the eyes of the spiritual master, and 1/3 of spirituality comes from the word of mouth. Okay? And so, here, what has been talked about is that without words, the message that a saint wants to convey is what? The saints and mystics are here to help us understand our real self. They're here to help us understand our connection with the Creator. They're here to help us connect with the divine power, light and sound of God, which is reverberating within each and every one of us. And that is their sole purpose of being in this physical world. Okay? So they're conveying this message to us to awaken, to not be focused on the world outside, but to focus on God. To know that there are regions after regions which are occurring concurrently with this physical region of ours, which we can go to, we can achieve, we can visit, which are more ethereal, which are more conscious, which are more spiritual than this physical region. And as we journey from the physical to the astral, from the astral to the causal, from causal to the supercausal, and then from there to Sachkhand, that we can be guided, that we can reach our goal. There's a pathway, because those regions are much more complex than the physical region of ours. It's very easy to be lost there. Okay? So they are conveying a message that, hey, you can reach there, you just need to be more silent, more peaceful, more peaceful, more peaceful. And so Sant Singh Ji Maharaj is like, how are they conveying this message? Not through words. He's saying, without words, your message is conveyed through your glances. And so Sant Singh Ji Maharaj is saying, your message is conveyed through your glances. So how that comes? It comes through the eyes of the spiritual master. And this is why so much emphasis on this path is laid on darshan, being in the physical presence of the spiritual master. Because that spiritual energy is coming through the eyes. And in one of the verses of Sant Singh Ji Maharaj says, he says, what is the meeting? I mean, we meet people every day, right? We meet people as we go to work, we meet people as we're buying groceries, we meet people, in wherever we're going, we meet family members. He says, what is the true meeting? He says, the true meeting is that it goes from eyes to eyes, from heart to heart, and from soul to soul. A true meeting is a meeting which brings a stirring in our soul. And so when we are in the physical presence of spiritual master, we're always asked to look into the eyes, because the spiritual radiation is coming from those spiritual eyes. So they become the pools of divine nectar flowing in our direction. And it's from their eyes to our eyes, from their heart to our heart, from their soul, that their consciousness is imparted to us. And this is why so much emphasis is put by those who've been on the path a long time to go for what we call the darshan of the spiritual master. Being in the physical presence helps us focus our attention in the right arena. Just like when you learn something, you have to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. So we are all very educated these days, right? We all go to school, and many of us end up in college, and we learn all kinds of things. We're very educated, we know a lot, and we can learn things very quickly. It's not like, we don't know what we're doing, right? But for us to really get into depths of something, sometimes we need to repeatedly be reminded. Okay? All of us have been told when we were little, we should drink 8 glasses of water a day. At least that is what I was told. How many of us drink 8 glasses of water? But if you're reminded, if someone's telling us practically every day, whether it's your parents or whoso is guiding us, once a week or something, then hopefully we'll do that, right? And that's the job of the saints too. So every satsang talks about God. I mean, it's nothing else. You talk about God, you talk about love, you talk about peace, you talk about meditation. What else is there? You need to come from all directions to get the message through. And so Sant Singh Ji Maharaj here is saying that the message is coming through the eyes, and not through that you need words for it, because this is like a spiritual message, and this message is one that you need to experience. We can read all the ratings of the great saints, we can go to all kinds of satsangs. Unless we sit and meditate, it's all hearsay. We haven't experienced it ourselves. The key is that we need to have that experience. And that experience is the experience of being in silence. So through this verse, Sant Singh Ji Maharaj is really explaining our whole concept of living. He's trying to tell us that God is a state of silence. We who are enamored by the world, who want to learn this and do this and do that because of our 5 senses, we're getting distracted and getting away from God. Hey, it's about time we turn back. Think about God, okay? Don't get entangled in all these attractions of the world. Make it simple. And this is what Sant Singh Ji Maharaj is saying. If you have to talk about something, talk about God. talk about silence. And that's why it's saying if you write about something, if you have to write a verse, write about God, write about silence. And then he says, words are not needed. You can convey, everything can be conveyed through the eyes. And messages can go through the eyes, and the connection can be made through the eyes, which will end up with the connection at the level of the soul, which is where you want to get to. The connection you want is for our soul to recognize God, for our soul to be able to soar through the inner spiritual region, for our soul to rise above physical body consciousness. And all of that experience only comes in when we sit to meditate. So let's meditate for a few minutes. Please sit as comfortably as you can. Close the eyes very gently, just like you close them when you go to sleep. Your eyeballs should be straight, focused 8 or 10 inches in front of you. And as you close your eyes, those of you who have been initiated in the mysteries of beyond, please do your Simran. Those of you who are new here, please repeat any name of God that you feel comfortable with. This repetition of God's name should be done mentally and not out loud. I pray to God Almighty and to the three great spiritual masters of past century, Hazur Baba Savan Singh Ji Maharaj, Param Sant Kripal Singh Ji Maharaj, and Dayal Purush Darshan Singh Ji Maharaj, to help each and every one of us connect with the divine power within, and for us to experience the divine light of God for ourselves. We'll be sitting for a few minutes. I'll be getting you out of this state at that time, and my best wishes are with each and every one of you. Please leave off. Please leave off.